Dr. Bugaje, what is at stake here? Is it just northern interest or Nigerian interest? And is it true that this coalition, Northern Political Consultative and all that, do they represent, the North? Is the North monolithic? And do you think that all these efforts to Tinubu and APC have some value?
Well, Abati, let me first say, I think they do represent the elite, the political elite in the North. But that is not really the problem. My problem with these kind of efforts is that we have consistently become superficial. And you journalists need to interrogate some of these issues beyond the North and South issue. I'm not dismissing it, but I'm saying that we have been trapped into this North and South to the extent that we have forgotten that we have a country to build, a country to live in, a country that we hope will survive and thrive. Therefore, I would always want us to shift from the more conventional discussion to interrogate the issues further. And in this respect, if you permit me, I have three things that I want to draw our attention to. One, don't forget that there are many northern political elite that have moved into the APC planning to support the presidency of Bola Tinubu. Some of them, in fact, came out to make a statement that there is no vacancy in Aso Rock. This statement, I was hoping that your team should invite those who made those statements to come and say exactly what they mean. Because as far as I know, there is nothing like this in our constitution. So that statement is unconstitutional, it is undemocratic, it is unintelligible. Therefore, these are the kind of things we allow to simply spread. And in any case, it is so it's exhausted. It's a term that Chief Tony Anini actually used when he was promoting the third term of Obasanjo. I thought they would be more creative. After 20 years, they are repeating the same kind of thing over and over again. Now, let me come back to the three issues about it, and I hope you permit me to make this point before you go further. One, these people who move from one party to the other, including those who come to the coalition, there is something that we need to ask. Why is it that people easily move from the parties from which they have been elected to move to other parties and there are no consequences, even though the laws that we are supposed to operate, have made provision for these kind of consequences? One of the things that I think we need to take note of and to discuss is the fact that our parties are completely empty. They have no content, they have no conscience, they have no courage. They don't represent anything. Take let's start with the opposition party. Take the opposition party, the biggest one, the PDP. What does it represent? When you mention PDP, what comes to your mind? What idea? Is there any idea that you can actually relate to? Is there anything that PDP represents beyond the personal interest of politicians who use the platform to grab power and then to continue doing the same kind of thing that APC is doing? The same APC, if you speak of APC, what do you see? There is no idea that I can really relate to APC. There is no particular policy, there is no particular developmental issue which they are not like talking about the environment, they are not talking about development, they are not. Basically what comes to mind when you look at the face of APC is the face of a person who has been caught on secret cameras, taking dollars and putting in his pocket. So maybe those who are moving into APC might have been attracted by those dollars or thinking that once they are there, their problems, will be solved. Personal problems, I must say. Therefore, we need to also look at the fact that the implication of all this is that we have left the politics of big ideas. We are basically stuck with the politics of big men. So we start talking of personalities moving here. What does it matter if one person moves from one party to the other if the parties are all empty? That's not the issue. The fact that there are no ideas, there is no conversation about the problems of this country. Even in the coalition, I don't think they speak about the real dangers that this country is facing. The mounting insecurity, the joblessness of young people, the lack of industries to do production so that the country can be wealthy. The fact that we lose nearly 350,000 hectares every year to desert encroachment. The fact that we have got a deficit of grain of about 30 million metric tons. With the floods that happened last rainy season, I'm not sure that figure will remain there. It's most likely going to go up. You look at our other parameters, very similar to the war-torn countries like Southern Sudan, Syria, and other. Why are the politicians not speaking about these ideas? They are only speaking about, oh, we have this former governor of this, ex-vice this and that, and this man. What does it really matter? What ideas are they carrying? What difference does it make if they are in this party or they are in that party? It's the same thing that we see. So I'm not impressed with a coalition that is just out to take power from the incumbent. I would be impressed if that coalition represents an alternative to what we are having now, an alternative to the pains that this country is going through, and an alternative to this hyperinflation, an alternative to the excessive corruption, an alternative to the insecurity that is basically bringing this country down to its knees, an alternative to the escalation of cost of energy that makes it impossible for anybody to set up an industry.
So these are very valid foundation.
I expect.
Thank you.
Generally, and this is my last point on that, if you please, the fact that 25 years of development has not delivered, of democracy has not delivered development. Look at all the indices. We are going down the drain. The country is getting poorer. Hunger, pain, disease, poverty is what is increasing. We must ask ourselves, what is wrong with the kind of democracy we are running? What is wrong with the kind of way we are doing things? These are the kind of conversations, honestly, about it that I think we should be engaged. I mean, if XYZ, former governor, former this, wants to be in coalition, it's his business. If he wants to be in APC, it's his business. What I care for, what does he represent? What does he want to do? How can his movement from one place to the other, really create the kind of, can create the kind of changes that we are looking forward to? Remember, this country is increasing in population. In the next 25 years, this country is going to be well over 400 million.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, if you can hear me, I'll just interject at this point. We are in conversation with Dr. Usman Bugaje. I just want to re-establish the fact that he's on the line. Okay, so you can hear me. Now, I want to go back to the genesis of this conversation, which was the ultimate question that we asked at the beginning is, why is it that there's a certain type of body language that we seem to see when a southerner is at the helm of affairs? Now, it's been said repeatedly by various leaders from the north that nobody can be president without the north. But the irony of that statement is that a northerner also can't be president without the support of the south. Whoever emerges president needs support from whether it be the north or the south. But why do you think that this rhetoric is gaining so much momentum from the north? Even in the Senate, you hear the conversations against the Senate President Akpabio, that the northerners are not in support of him. Where do you think this dynamic is coming from? Because it seems to gain momentum when a southerner is at the helm of affairs.
Okay, madam, thank you. Ordinarily, honestly, I don't want to be dragged into this north and south nonsense. Look, this conversation about north and south is coming from the emptiness of our politics. The politicians have nothing to offer. If they have, let them put the ideas on the table. I'm going to go for a president wherever he comes from. Once he's a Nigerian, he has the ideas to fix this country. In this 21st century, we're still talking about north and south. In any case, we have tried northern president, we have tried southern president. What have they done? I've not seen anything. I mean, Buhari's regime was a disaster. So, and I've said so severally, many people have said so. So why should we be stuck about Akpabio? Akpabio, for goodness sake. What does he represent? Tell me, what ideas can you associate with Akpabio? What contribution has he made to the development of this country? Look at the padding in the budget. There are over 11,000, padded budget, about how many trillion? I mean, this bunch of thieves, for goodness sake, stop talking about them. Talk about ideas. How can we fix this country? Look at the population growing. Look at the lack of jobs. Look at the insecurity. Look at the inflation. Look at the bills that are mounting. How can we survive in the 21st century? We're in a competitive environment.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, I get
please
your point.
I don't want to get into this north and south thing. Please, please.
Dr. Bugaje.
You are the journalist. You are shaping public opinion.
Dr. Bugaje.
Tell these politicians that talk about north and south, bring your ideas.
Dr. Bugaje, I hear you. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody wants to get into this back and forth dichotomy between the north and south because it has not helped our country. When we return to democracy, we had some level of growth under the PDP. We have lost all of that today as we speak. From a GDP of over 500 billion, we have gone to less than 200 billion. There's more hunger, more poverty. And in all fairness to what out here, if you watch the last election, we interrogated them with the facts. But you see, like you said rightly, most of these politicians have no ideas. It is just about how they can get into power for their personal gain. And I want to walk with you on this journey.
Absolutely.
But it's not that easy because you are a lone voice. There are many people that will say otherwise. There are many people that are saying after 4 years, power should go back to the north. It has become the convention that a general part of most parts of the country have adopted. We can't deceive ourselves. You see, you can't be insulated from your environment. Idealistically speaking, I'm on your side. But realistically speaking, our society has been engulfed with this north and south dichotomy. The question is, how can we save the people that have been inundated with this cancerous idea of region? I would like to work with you on that.
Okay. I'm very happy you have raised this point, and I think this is the kind of conversation. We need to deconstruct the political debate. We need to raise issues that these politicians are not prepared to face. We need to put them on the, keep them on their toes and ask them to come and explain. Your party, what party do you represent? It doesn't matter what. Come and tell us, what does your party represent? What do you want to offer beyond the north and south kind of thing? So by engaging them, for me, there are things I do. I started and we're going to resume the Rescue Nigeria project. We brought in all the intellectuals, people with public service experience, politicians who feel isolated where they are, but who want to really engage in this thing. And we wanted to create a momentum. And we had started, and suddenly the elections came, people went in their different ways, everybody trying to see what he can make in different parties, and so we lost that momentum. But we have to pick it up, the more so, because at the moment, there is no platform at the national level where some of these issues can be discussed. And so I'm going back to my colleagues, Pat Otomi, Egodalo,
but Dr. Bugaje,
and others.
Dr. Bugaje, would you respect?
Yes.
Let me come in. And what you've just said is exactly the problem. You said you are going back to your colleagues, Patutomi. A lot of Nigerians still see that as elitists. They still see that as elitist. How can you permeate this conversation to an average Nigerian voter that with 5,000 naira ediboke sibe, and they tell that this person is not from your region, you should be allowed to vote? How can you permeate that even to an elite man from the south that in the last election all he kept on shouting is Yoruba Lukan? In the north that kept on shouting Hausa Lukan.
Okay.
So how can we do this? Because when you speak, when we finish speaking all the English, poverty will stare at you in the face. How can we do this? That's my question, sir.
Okay. For me, there are a number of things time will not allow us to explain, but I'm engaging the youth in a number of ways, and I'm getting pockets of them, cells of them, groups of them that I'm mentoring, and we are putting this youth together to connect as young people who are going to inherit the mess of the last 25 years, and that they should be prepared. They are the major stakeholders in all this business of the next election, because if anything goes wrong, they are going to be to suffer the most. If it goes right, they are going to be those that are going to benefit the most. And I'm doing what I'm doing. Time will not allow me to, and I do appreciate your point, but the point I'm making is that these were the people we started with, and we have a plan to go down the line, because every state was supposed to have a chapter, and women and youth were to be the core participants, in this matter. We are still on it. It's tough, but we're not giving up, and we're going to continue. If time allows, we can say more. And I'm sure in the coming 1-2 months, we are likely to be coming back to you with a team of some of these young people discussing the kind of ideas that we think politicians should be talking. We don't want to know what party you come from. We want to know what your party represents. We don't want to know whether you are from the north or the south. We want to see what plans do you have for this country. And we're going to evaluate you based on your understanding of the problems, based on the solutions you are providing to the problems of this country, not from where you come from, for goodness sake.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, before we wrap up, today is a very symbolic day, May 29. The day Nigeria returned to democratic civilian rule 26 years ago, after all that protest over June 12, call for exit of the military. How do you think we have fared in 26 years? And what's your assessment of the midterm scorecard of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? How do you think he has fared? We started this program on that note this morning.
I think this is a legitimate issue to put on the table, and it's the right time to do so. But I find difficult to communicate when we speak, because there are no, agreed criteria for this. But ultimately, whatever the criteria used, it is the feelings and the situation in which the ordinary people live that should be the final test, for the litmus test for Bola Tinubu's administration. And for what I know, people are finding it difficult to eat. I have had series of discussion, university teachers, civil servants. There is even people working in the bank, surprisingly. Nobody's salary can last him 10 years. I mean, 10 days of the month. So people are basically struggling to survive. You cannot feed, you cannot pay the school fees of your children, you cannot find other side jobs to do. Everything is troubling. The economy has so shrunk that there is hardly anything anybody can do. Now that for me is a disaster for these 2 years. I thought when he came with the pedigree that he has, being the Democrat, being the activist, being the organizer, the tactician, he was going to assemble the kind of team that know exactly what to do. But all the last 2 years that we have seen, he has allowed hyperinflation. I mean, it's the what do you call it? I mean, the military that we worked hard to displace, had a better management of our economy, unfortunately, and then the issue of insecurity that actually became a big issue during this last 25 years and culminated into so many other things. We thought he needed basically 6 months to 1 year to fix it. But as you have seen, it's even escalating. It's growing. I mean, the last few months, the governor of Borno has been screaming and saying that these people are taking territories and they are inching into previous areas. So what I mean is basically the last 2 years of this administration have been very much like Buhari's 8 years. They have been a disaster for the citizens of this country. Now, if you want to look at the exact thing, you started by talking about GDP. You remember Akin Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, quoting figures saying that the GDP at the moment is the lowest, in fact, far lower than what it was in 1960 when we got our independence. And this reminds me of South Korea. You remember South Korea in the 60s, they were declared the second poorest country in the world. And they suffered, if you read their history, after the Korean War that separated the country between the North Korea and South Korea, they had series of political regimes that were messing up. And it was the military, General Mark, that came and salvaged the situation and then started growing. See where Syria is at the moment. What I'm basically saying is that they should know if they cannot fix this country, somebody might come to fix it. I don't know how. We hope we don't go down like Somalia, we don't go down like Southern Sudan, we don't go down like other countries. But look, this thing is a very serious business, and I think they should either come out and explain or tell people, sorry, we have tried our best, we cannot, and then simply leave. I really can't see how you cling to power. You have failed to deliver on the expectations of your people.
Okay, Dr. Bugaji, I recall though that you said in around 2015 that President Buhari brought in Fulani killers from across West Africa to come and rig elections in Nigeria. But President Tinubu says he has done much better with security, that Nigeria is a safer country today. In any case.
Abati, I don't know why you got that. I never talked about Fulani killers. Just check everything that I said. I've tried to change my words.
Okay. I thought you said people were imported.
But whatever
but nobody is importing anybody now.
No. I think the crisis, the economic crisis, is enough to generate. You remember this book by this black writer who wrote, I think, Fire on the Mountains. I'm trying to remember him, one of the black writers. He made this statement that the most dangerous man in any society is somebody who has nothing to lose. And all we have done is to be producing these dangerous people, and this in itself is a source of insecurity. We should not be looking outside. We should be looking inside. We have generated it by the way we have decimated our political economy.
Okay, on that note, we would like to thank you very much.